Are you ready?
I'm excited and I'm ready to go. I won't be reserved, I promise.
Ooh, that's a nice promise. Okay. Um, Jess, you want to start? Do you want me to start?
No, I can start. So first, let's ease into it. You mentioned Hannah Waddingham as who the character of Grace saw playing the part of Heather McCarthy's character in the film adaptation of the book. Is
Mhm.
that like Eliza? Is that who you pictured when you wrote Heather? Like her aesthetic?
No. No, not at all, actually. I don't does anybody in here know Heidi Blickenstaff?
From you.
We were just
Yes.
talking about that.
Yeah, no. I 100% without a shadow of a doubt wrote it to be Heidi. Like if this was ever turned into a movie, I would want her to play Heather in a heartbeat. Like she's like my most, aside from my wife, she is like my most perfect woman. Like everything about her, and I just think she is oh drop dead gorgeous. That being said, it's not that I don't think Hannah Waddingham is very beautiful because I do. And I if she wanted to play Heather, I would not protest it. But that is not when I was writing Heather, it was Heidi all the way. 100%. Like every single thing about it. And it's like sometimes I read it and I'm like, I need help.
You need therapy.
I mean, it's bad. It's okay though.
Is Heidi from Home for the Holidays also Heidi?
Yeah. Oh
She's
yeah. Yeah.
okay.
She'll be my next character until I find someone else to hyperfixate on. It's the life of a writer, right? Like it's so crazy because I don't know how excited or like I'm allowed to get during this, but like I when I got to meet her, like I was just like, oh my God, like everything about her was so Heather that I was like, oh my God. Like I had to like take a beat and like move like after I met her, I had to like literally go and sit down because it was like literally meeting the character. Like obviously I mirrored her after Heidi, but then they'll like see Heidi and be like, they're so similar and without me even like realizing like how similar they really were in like their hand movements and their gestures and their facial expressions. And I was just like, I'm going to pass out. Like I need to sit down. Like Heather and Heidi from Home for the Holidays have been like my most amazing characters I think I've ever written. So like seeing her and like meeting her and like actually realizing that like everything I thought about her was like true. I was like, oh my God, I have got to take a breath. Like it was intense. It was one of the most surreal experiences of my life, to be
So
honest. It was
what I'm
crazy.
reading between the lines here is that you're Grace.
I mean, I don't want to say that. No. I mean, sure. No. I mean, yeah, but I'm not Iris. I am not Iris. But I think a lot of Grace is me, a lot of their neuroses and the anxiety and the crippling imposter syndrome. Those are definitely all me. Like that's 100% me. But I wrote her to like I don't think I'm as attractive as I wrote Grace to be. I think Grace is everything I wish I was as outwardly as just like very confident, even though she's so not confident in who she is like as a writer. Like, but she's so confident. She knows she's attractive. She knows she can get women. She knows that's not a problem for her. It's just actually feeling out Heather and like realizing that this could be someone for her. Like that's what really trips her up. So like that probably is a lot of me, but like ultimately it's it is me, but it's not. It's everything I wish I could be. Grace is everything I wish I could be. Every part of her is I think Grace is pretty fantastic too.
So if Heidi Blickenstaff would be cast as Heather, they
She's listening today.
they would not have to put like the thing in the contract for you.
Not at all. No.
She's
Not
like,
at all.
oh my God, my wife is in the room.
No, she's upstairs. It's fine. She already knows that if Heidi wanted to sweep me off my feet, that I would leave in a heartbeat. She knows. It's fine.
Okay.
No.
I got some actual questions in the chat. Let's get to those.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh,
We can
okay,
just
so
keep
we
talking
have-
about Heidi.
Well, we have like 20 minutes, so
Oh, cool.
let's see. So okay, Heidi Blickenstaff will be Heather. Who would be Grace in the movie?
So I actually pictured every time I was writing her, Rachel McAdams with like the shorter hair and like the like sort of ombre-ish, you know, dark to light root. I really, everything about like Rachel McAdams is like mannerisms, especially in the movie Game Night. Like that's how I kind of pictured her, kind of like, oh my gosh, and like kind of like outgoing to a certain extent, but like very reserved around Heather. So like those were things that I really enjoyed about Rachel McAdams' like acting style. So like if I could cast her, it would be her. I think that they would be fantastic together too. Yeah.
Okay, let's hope Hollywood is listening.
I'm honestly, I hope Netflix. Hey,
We've done half the work. I mean, come on.
that would be great.
Jess, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. What research did you have to do into the film and theatre scenes to make them as accurate as possible?
Well, it's funny that you asked that. I actually, I know quite a few people that do theater that have, you know, dabbled in writing, you know, books and in the theater world, and you know, writing music and trying to put together a storyline actually. So I talked to them a lot about that, but I'm also a huge Broadway nerd anyway, so I kind of like already sort of had like a background in like understanding what it takes to get a musical on its feet, you know, the all of that background, the acting that goes into it, the separation between the character and the actor and all of those things. Like I've done a lot of research in that already, so that was kind of just like my cursory knowledge. But the movie side of things, I actually ended up like sitting down and like picking apart like how all of that goes from like when a book is optioned and how that goes from there on out, and who's all involved, and is there a screenwriter, does there have to be, and all of those things. Because I know that there's, you know, there's typically a screenwriter, and there it doesn't always end up the best adaptation of a book. And I know a lot of times readers were like, what did you do to this book? Like, so those are things that I really wanted to make sure that this was, it needed to be, this adaptation of this movie or this book needed to be as seamless as possible. And, you know, for Grace to be like, yes, I enjoy everything that's happened to my story to get it to screen. So those were a lot of things that I had to like actually research, and like the dailies, and like being able to like know that very important people on set get these, that are involved, get these dailies, you know, daily of the filming process and everything that's happening and how it's unfolding. And that was really fun to write as well, that middle section of those dailies when Grace gets to see Heather becoming Eliza, and like see her, you know, stop being a Broadway actress and become a film actress. And it was really like, to see that process, it like even just in my mind was really amazing. But like when I wrote it all out, I was like, wow, that it made me feel really good, because I've heard Broadway stars always talk about when they become film actors, it's such a change, because you know it is overacting when you're on Broadway, but you can dial it back and really get in touch with your emotions a little bit more when it's just a camera in front of your face. So I thought that was like really, really exciting to kind of like make sure that that happened in Heather's perspective, and like letting Grace see that unfold. So that was really fun.
That's awesome.
Go
ahead.
No, I'm thinking, let's we were talking about this in the book club. The timing of the meeting between Grace and Heather is well, Grace is still in a relationship, and the choices she makes are not really morally sound.
No. No.
Why did you choose that path? Why did you write it like that?
So a couple reasons. One, I think it's, as a Sapphic romance author, I've been told numerous times, don't put cheating, quote unquote, cheating in a book. People won't like it. Readers won't like it. I don't disagree. I don't think cheating is, admirable. I don't, but it happens. It happens in life, and it happens more often than not. And I think a lot of times Sapphic relationships in general get to a point where it's more comfortable to stay together than to leave, and you don't love each other anymore, and you barely like each other. And that is where Darby and Grace really were. It was, we love each other just because we've been together for so long, but we're not in love anymore. We don't like each other. We barely tolerate each other. And it was sort of like, they're in this relationship, but the break is there. It's going to happen, and they needed it. And it was kind of like the catalyst to help Grace go like, you know what? We do need to take a break. You're right. Like, let us take a break, because neither one of us are happy. And when Darby says that to Grace, like, we need to figure this out, because I'm pretty sure we're going to end up disliking each other. Like, that to me is very mature of them both. So even though it was immature of Grace to sort of like take a step with it, still being in a relationship, I think it was very much like what needed to happen for her to like go, you know what, comfortable isn't necessarily good for either one of us in this instance. So and as being an independent author, I like being able to do what I want. Like, I can do what I want. I don't care what anybody really says or thinks or feels, because it felt good for me for the story. But when I was with like Bold Strokes, like, it was very much like, do not do that. Do not put cheating in a book. You will not sell books that way. And honestly, like, it is about selling books at the end of the day, right? But like, I wanted to write the story that I wanted to write. And in this particular instance, Grace needed to be in a relationship, and she needed to be unhappy. And I needed her to see that, like, look, you can be very happy with this woman if you just take a step and get out of your comfort zone. Like, the road signs in hell are always familiar, so you don't want to leave. That's kind of like the whole thing with Grace, is like, she just was like, I'm familiar with this. This is fine. Everything's fine. Whatever. I guess I'll be unhappy for the rest of my life, kind of thing. And I didn't want her to be like that anymore.
But
that's not me, by the way. That is not my life. That's not me. So a lot of Grace is not me, and that part is not. Just so everybody's aware of that.
Okay. Noted. Well, you did like the epic Sapphic thing, is make them still live together. And
right, yeah, right. Like, and then Darby's bringing a girl in, and they're like, why is this even cool? But it is because they were such good friends that it was like they still were able to find this common ground of loving each other, just not being in love. And I personally would never be friends with an ex, like, ever. So that was like a real stretch for me. But I wanted to make sure.
Of you.
I know. That's my Pisces side. Like, got to get out of there. Dump them.
And done. Yes.
I have a question from Jade. They've said, you're rocking a Taylor Swift shirt today. How does Taylor Swift influence you and your writing?
Well, I always put Taylor Swift references in probably every book that I've written, which is really sad, but thanks, Taylor. Also, she influences me because I love how petty Taylor is. I love it. Like, one of my very favorite things about her is that she's just a petty bitch at the core. She just wants to write about her feelings, and she doesn't give a fuck who's listening. She doesn't care what you think. She knows she's going to sell records at this point, so she's like, I don't really care. And I love that, and I think that that's fantastic. And as someone who wrote a book of poetry and then got a lot of slack for it, about, who's this about? What's this? Why? Like, at the end of the day, like, who cares? Interpret it how you want to. And that's what the beauty of Taylor is. And that's what I love. Like, I pull that from her. Like, I'm going to put my heart into this writing, and I want you to interpret it how you want to interpret it. And at the end of the day, it's my heart on a page. And I'm just hoping that you can pick it up and read it and go, this resonates in whatever way possible. This resonates. And I think that is what I've really pulled from Taylor. And I hope to continue to do that because I feel very, very, very happy with everything I'm putting out these days, and which is not something that I would have said 3 years ago.
Talking about your whole writing career, what books were hard to write and what were the easiest?
Well, my first book was the hardest. It took like 12 years. Yeah, Falling
Okay.
Into Her took a very long time to write, but it went through like probably 10 different iterations of, you know, a book. And then by the time I sent it away and it came back, it was in Bold Strokes published it. It was really like a completely different novel. So like that was probably the most difficult and like the most learning process for me, right? Like how to actually have like solid character development. I think that's like probably my worst book. But the hardest book to write, the hardest one was The Road Home. That is a lot of me. A lot of my heart is in that book. My mom passed away from cancer, and that entire journey is very much the journey that I went through with my mom. We did have a very strained relationship, and throughout her cancer treatments became a lot closer, and it became I'm trying to not get emotional. I'm sorry. It became very much like me being gay and didn't matter anymore, which was finally like, thank God. But like, it sucked that it took cancer for us to get to that point. But that book was very difficult to write. And I think it's pretty hard. I've never reread that book. I can't, and I probably never will. But the scene, and I don't know if everybody's read it. If you haven't, I'm going to talk about it. If you don't want to listen, plug your ears. The scene where Carol actually passes away, everything in that scene is like literally what happened. And that was like so hard to write. And I was still so raw from losing my mom that it was like, I have to write this. I have to heal. And by the end of it, and by the time it was actually published, I felt like a different person healing wise. Like losing a parent is never easy, and I don't think it gets easier. I do think it gets less raw, and I think at this particular moment in my life, it is like the least raw that it's ever been. And I really started to heal because of that book.
I think I've read the book, and I think that's what I couldn't put my finger on. But if you're talking about it like this, it was like, I think that's what touched me. I kind of felt like it was real.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Like,
Well,
it's very much.
like,
Yeah.
See, I felt that, and I couldn't put
Like
it
the
into words.
scene when Gwen goes to talk to Carol at the hospital when she's getting her chemo treatment, all of that, like the sights, the smells, the cold, like it's she, you know, everything about it, like everything about that was everything I experienced going to see my mom at her first chemo treatment. So that was all very like, I don't know why I was like, let's just write all the hard things in one book. Like, let's get it all out of here. And I did, and it was the worst. And I did it all at Panera. So there you go. The Panera staff got to see me cry a lot. It was a lot of tears shed at the old Panera bread. Yeah, a tear in my coffee instead of a tear in my beer. So
Or
it was a lot. Yeah.
Salty sandwich. So is
Right.
writing like therapy for you in a way?
100%. Yes, absolutely. It is very therapeutic for me. Anything I write, my journaling, my poetry, my any book I've written, I always pour myself into that too. Like every character I've ever written has a little bit of me in it. Except for Heather and except for Heidi, because they're Heidi. But like literally every other character I've ever written has a little bit of me in it. And I don't know if that's real for every writer, but it's just difficult because I want my characters to seem real, and unless they're flawed, I don't think they are. I don't think they are real. Like I just feel like they just feel like a very perfect character, and you're like, ah, okay, they're perfect. But like even Heidi had her flaws. Like even not Blickenstaff, Nowak. But like she had her flaws, right? Like she was not the perfect mother. Like she was definitely had her issues. And, you know, there are times when like, even like during Breaking Down Her Walls with Elena Bennett, like Elena Bennett was far from perfect, but she became like a very real character. So there are definitely a lot of like me in these characters though, at the end of the day.
Jess?
I haven't got any more questions in the
Oh,
chat,
okay. I've got a few.
but I have got one from the 1 second. From the sheet of sign up, what are your favorite books, Sapphic or otherwise?
Okay, my favorite book, like romance book ever, is The Horse Whisperer. I love that book so much. Like I reread it every year. It is one of my very favorite novels, and it is the worst adaptation that I've ever seen to a movie. Like I love Kristen Scott Thomas, but everything else about that, and maybe Scarlett Johansson, that was like her first role, like her first real role. Like she did a great job, but ultimately that was just a horrible movie adaptation. But the book is fantastic. I just love that book. And I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read that every year now too. And my other my favorite sapphic romance is VIP by Jackie D. I love VIP. I think it's one of my very favorite books ever. It's fantastic. I think Jackie is a phenomenal artist and author. She is just so good at her craft, and I write with her like for Glitch, but like just her writing on her own is just absolutely amazing. I love the character depth and the development that she does, and just one hell of an author. Like I love Jackie D's books. So
Everyone took notes. Good. I I see your little thing on the background. I love milfs and cookies.
Yeah.
So Clara wants to know: will your next book will it have a milf in her 50s too?
More than likely, yes. If it doesn't have a MILF, it'll at least have a hot older woman in it. Every book I will ever write will always have a hot older woman, and they will always get with the younger girl. I mean, it's just my thing. I can't stop. I love it. I'm a sucker for older women. But I've gotten so many like thank yous from readers that are older that just see, you know, they're reading like, you know, sapphic romances, and they're seeing 30-year-olds and, you know, 29-year-olds, and that's not their jam. Like they want to see older characters represented on the page. And I want to see that in film. I want to see that in a book. I want to see that on stage. Like I feel very passionate about that. So I'm going to give myself what I want, and I'm hoping that other people want it too, because I enjoy the idea of older women like actually like being confident in their skin still, and being able to like look in a mirror and see like certain things are sagging in areas and there's wrinkles in areas, but ultimately they still feel fantastic about who they are and their body and what their body has been able to give them through the years. And I really, really, really love writing about that. And I find that all very attractive. And it's very easy for me to want like a younger character to be eager to get into bed with somebody that is like that. Like, and that is where it all ends, right? Like that's where I'm going, is I want you all to get there with me. So yeah, I love that part. That's one of my favorite parts of writing, is just getting them to bed. The sex scenes never easy to write. I can't stand writing the sex scenes, but getting them there, love it.
Well,
Love it. Yeah.
you do it
We
very
were
well.
actually
Well, thank you.
Sorry, Kaz.
I'm sorry, what?
We were actually talking about in the book club how you are fantastic at creating the sexual chemistry between two characters for the journey to the happily ever after. Can you speak to like what you do specifically in your books to make that sexual chemistry come alive on the page? Like first comes sex, then comes marriage.
So it's interesting. I try really hard. So even though 90% of the time, the character is not me, right? It's not. It really isn't. Like Grace is probably me. Let's be real, right? Like it's probably me. But like at the end of the day, 90% of my other characters, that's not really me. But I like to put myself in the position of what would I say? How would I react? What kind of chemistry am I hoping for with another person? And that's where I try to draw from and try to write about and try to get there. Like I think about when I first met my wife and, you know, like the chemistry that we had and the way that, you know, like I think I just posted this on Twitter a while back. Like she put a martini over my shoulder from behind, like over, she was the server. She put it over my shoulder and I was just like, what's happening right now? Like, I can't even handle this. It was like the most exciting thing that's ever happened. And I was just like, what is going on? And like, I still remember, like, I get all blushed and I'm like, the chills and just all of that. And that's what I want to recreate every time I'm having two characters meet and talk, and the eye contact and the hands and watching the glass come up to the mouth. And like, I love watching a woman drink an old fashioned. Oh God. So like, I want you to feel what I'm seeing, like what I want. And the heart beating, and then like the lips, and then and the veins on the back of the hand, all of it. I want you to feel that. So that's something that like I get so into it, like in their head, I want you to like get it. And that's to me like the bread and butter. Like I love that sexual tension. That's my favorite part of writing. Seriously, it's like the meet cute, because I love like that, like holy fuck, look at this woman, oh my God, like that part's fun. But like the getting to know each other, and then that sexual tension, and then like when are they gonna kiss, when are they gonna rip each other's clothes off, all of that, like let's get there. But I like to like piece it in there, little breadcrumbs here and there. I just love it. I love it. This is making me so excited. I haven't written in a while. Now I just want to go write.
I feel like I need a cold shower after you describing that woman thinking the old fashioned.
Well, you know, I mean, I'll put that in my next book too.
Yay. I'm mindful of your time because we are almost done. Are you okay with a few more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone wants to leave, has other plans today, thank you for joining us and hope to see you again soon. If you don't have to leave, please stay. Let's see. Did I have another one in the chat? I'm sorry.
I have one in the chat.
Oh, good. Go. Oh, wait. Clara says amen to the older characters. Amen. Yeah.
I love that.
I've got one from Anonymous. I see a typewriter on the floor behind you. Have you ever written a book on it?
No, I haven't. That was actually a housewarming gift from a really good friend of mine who got it at an old estate sale. It doesn't even work right now. So I'm going to get it fixed, and I would like to try to at least write some poetry on it. I think that might be fun. But the keys are real sticky. So I would be like, that would take me like,
that would be fun to watch though.
Yeah.
Like the sexual tension going.
I know, and the keys are all sticking together.
Go stick in and go ping.
Yeah, you know what? I'll record it if I ever get it fixed.
Yes.
and write it. I'll put it out there for
We'll have
everybody.
To see
little
It'll be
ticky
like
tacky.
an ASMR.
Right.
ASMR.
Yeah.
We'll send you a working one.
Right. All right.
So you told us that you published before with Bold Start Books, and now you're independent.
Right.
What is your advice to aspiring authors?
Well, one, don't stop writing. Like, absolutely never stop. Like, if you want to write. Like, at the end of the day, just write it. Like, whatever you're thinking, write it. If you want to start out small and grow from there, great. Then just get your butt in the seat and write. Like, and I've heard that 1,000 times. And then when I would first hear it, I was like, okay, whatever. But like, honestly, that is it. You have to write. Like, you just have to sit down and write, or you have to like put it on your phone or voice memo or something. Because if you don't, you never will get published. You never will get to the point like where you can send it out. You will never get to a point where you feel confident in it if you're not at least getting it out of your head. So my other thought is, if you really want to be published and you want to do independent, or you want to go to a publisher or try to go mainstream, just make sure that you're ready for the negative that comes along with it. I have a very thin skin, and I read every review, and I see the 1 stars and I see the 2 stars, and it hurts because I love these characters and I want everybody to love them as well. I know not everybody will. So now, but I didn't know that in the beginning. I was like, why wouldn't anybody like this character? They're the best. But like now I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So the characters that I write aren't going to be everybody's cup of tea either. And as I've aged and matured, I've learned that. Like, I've learned that not everybody's going to love everything. So when you are a brand new author, just remember that, like, it is never going to be as easy as you think it is. It's never as easy as anybody makes it seem. It is difficult, but it is worth it if you're doing it because you love to write. Don't do it for the money, because sometimes the money sucks. It's not always great. Sometimes it's fantastic. You know, some of these authors out there, you know, they get a #1 and on the Amazon chart and they stay there for months. That's fantastic for them. They are making decent money, but not everybody does that. And just remember that if you're doing it because you love it, then you will be successful. You will put stuff out that you feel good about and that you feel passionate about. And don't let people push you around and make you change your story. Like, you try to get it published and someone's like, oh, we'll publish it if you do this. If you don't want to change it, don't change it. Do not change it, because at the end of the day, you need to be happy with what you're putting out. And there were so many times when I would do a proposal at Bold Strokes, and like, I'd get it back and, you know, they'd be like, what about this, this, and this? And I was like, okay, fine, because I just wanted to publish a book. And then I put out something and I was like, I don't love it. I don't love it. I'm not happy with it. And now, because I get to do what I want, I'm like, I love it. Like, When Worlds Collide is my favorite book I've ever written, ever. And I got to do exactly what I wanted. And nobody told me no. Nobody. Like, I love that. And it is fantastic. And you know what? It's probably one of my best-selling books too, aside from Guarding Evelyn. So I'm happy with it. And I think every author, aspiring author, artist, don't change things if you don't want to. Don't, because you won't be happy with yourself if you do.
And your name is on the book, so
right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's you.
Yeah, you're the author, you're the artist. Like, I doubt anybody was going behind Picasso being like, what about you put the nose here? Like, no. Picasso was like, fuck you, I'm putting the nose where I fucking want. Yeah, like, and he did, and now look. Like, we're like, Picasso, like, oh my god, like, I'm talking about Picasso like I'm an art major. I'm not.
Whatever.
You're the Sapphic answer to Picasso.
Yeah,
right, exactly. I'm the Sapphic Picasso.
Okay, we have another one for the about the book, because this book has some great bi representation. What was that important to you to include, and why?
Yes, actually, it's very important for me to include. First of all, I think our bi brothers and sisters in the LGBT community do get a very raw deal. They absolutely do. And as someone who 100% identifies as a lesbian, I do sometimes am attracted to men. So I'm like, I could see it. I could see how it's possible. So like, I personally wanted to like put myself into a position where I was like someone who 100% likes both. just they are not either or, they're just both. And I think that that was really important for me to do that, because I wanted to be able to write that. I wanted to get into Heather's head and be like, how can you still like Michael? He's such a cocksucker. But because because she likes men and loves men, she, the same way Grace still loved Darby, even though she was such a bitch sometimes. Like, it's just these things that's like, you have to be able to like wrap your head around it in order to understand it outside of your characters too. And I think afterwards I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally understand a bisexual person even better now than I ever have in the past. And like I said, like there are some men that I'm like, okay, Chris Evans, okay, go off, you know, like I could see you rip a piece of wood apart. I'll do that. Like, that's nice. Can you take your shirt off? Like, you know, like I'll objectify him. I don't care.
Oh, well. I mean,
I mean, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm more comfortable with women. So I'm like, I get it. I get it.
it's like a scale, right? Like percentage.
Right. Like, when I really do think sexuality is fluid. I really truly believe that. And that's why I think a lot of times we're seeing that more and more. We're seeing more women want to be with women. And it's not because, you know, they've always been attracted to women. It's just that they're like realizing that like they are attracted to women.
Yeah, or
and they,
that woman.
you know, or yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Or just that one. But they were with men, but they really like this one now. Like, I think that that's very, I think it is a scale. Sexuality is fluid in my mind. The same way I believe that you can be in love with two people at the same time. I believe in, I'm not polyamorous, but like I do think that that is a total option for people, and that is possibility, and that does happen. And you know, I mean, I've had my heart torn in two different directions before, you know, so it's definitely there. So I like to make sure that I'm very inclusive when I'm writing, because I think it's important. It's important for this community, but it's important too for someone outside of the community to pick it up and be like, oh wow, like I could see myself in this book, like, and then open the door maybe to other books in the community.
Jess?
That's awesome. Speaking of opening doors, having people inside the books, what can we expect from you next? What's your work in progress? A little tidbit. Are they going to go to the toilet in it?
Are they having their periods?
Maybe, you know, maybe. I'm very honest about that stuff. I try so hard. But so I'm not writing aggressively right this second. I don't know if everybody knows. I started a full-time job as a director of admissions at a local university, an extension campus of a large university in Indiana. So it's been a whirlwind. I used to be in admissions before I was in Florida, and that was like my passion, and you know, higher education and yada, yada, yada. So I got back into it. And so now I'm like so busy that I haven't been able to like sit down and write. But I do have 30,000 words written of like an older student and meeting her older, like her
Heidi.
then older teacher. Yeah. So it's probably Heidi. I mean, let's be real.
Let's be honest.
Let's be real. I mean, I hope to God she's not listening, because she's going to be like, this.
You know, I'm going to send you the link, right?
I mean, that's fine. Let's. Hi, Heidi. God, I'm going to jail. But yeah, it's been a little bit harder to get into that one because of this new job. It's just taking up a lot of bandwidth in my head, and I just honestly, if I could have stayed a full-time writer until the day I died, I probably would have. But insurance is expensive in this country. Ugh, the
Come
worst.
to Europe. Why not?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Come to Europe.
I mean, I probably should. Let's be real.
Well, you all should.
I mean, right?
We're welcoming people. Okay, do you have another one, Jess?
I don't.
No, I think
You got one?
No, I think we talked about a lot. Is there anything you want to add, Erin?
No, this has been awesome. No, you all have been very fantastic. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.